I invite everyone to take their seat as we proceed with the afternoon session. From challenges to implementation of newborn screening program in Nepal, we have came across to the afternoon sessions where we'll talk further about newborn screening. And as we move forward in our mission of newborn screening, it is important to acknowledge that the journey ahead comes with challenges. And to help us understand these challenges in greater depth, I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Prajwal Paudel, a senior consultant pediatrician and associate professor of pediatrics and neonatology at National Academy of Medical Sciences, Nepal. Currently, he is engaged as a newborn screening coordinator at Fotoghar Maternity and Women's Hospital. His insight will be very crucial as he will be talking about challenges that we get in implementation of newborn screening in Nepal. Let's have Dr. Prajwal on the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be here among experts and all the dedicated advocates for improving the child health across the world. My name is Prajwal Paudel, and I'm representing Fotoghar Maternity and Women's Hospital. And I will be sharing our journey in the implementation of newborn screening in our setup, and which has been both challenging as well as rewarding also. I will also be sharing the lesson learned during the implementation, which may resonate with similar institutions trying to set up and develop similar screening programs in their institutions. So I would like to start with the newborn health scenario in Nepal. Presently, 600,000 newborns are born per year. So it's a national data, and the newborn mortality has already been discussed. It is 21, and it has not been. It is stagnant for the past 10 years, and it is higher in province 2, 6, and 7, and the major cause of newborn mortality has been prematurity, birth asphyxia, sepsis, and congenital malformations. So in the congenital and genetic, so the burden is both due to visible as well as the invisible birth defects, and most of them are metabolic disorder also. And the studies done and shared earlier has shown that we have a huge burden of metabolic disorders in Nepal. I'm highlighting the major interventions here because to scale up what we are trying to do and to integrate a newborn screening program and to make it sustainable, somewhere it has to be integrated in one of these four newborn programs that has been already implemented and successfully run across the nation. CBIMCI is the earliest one, and it was changed to facility-based IMCI. Like treating a baby from primary healthcare center to facility-based care in a district hospital or further. And one important intervention that has helped to cure the sick newborns has been free newborn care. So free newborn care is a program in which all the newborns that are admitted in our institution, especially the public funded, and some of the institutions like the medical college are also under free newborn care, because the government has been trying to establish the public and private hospitals like a partnership, and based on the package received, the amount is reimbursed to that institution. So I'll be talking this towards the end, but just to mention it now, if newborn screening program can be can be integrated in free newborn care system, like adding a package E along with the neonatal surgeries which is yet to be incorporated within this free newborn care, then it is possible that many other publicly funded hospitals as well as some private institutions can come under the same umbrella, and that this was what we also discussed. A representative from WHO integrate free newborn care and with the newborn screening, then perhaps we can move more smoother and we can reach reach the target which we are envisioning now. So other one is the CNC program and the Safe Motherhood and Incentive program. And to tell you, the free newborn care program, the Safe Motherhood program, and along with the Human Milk Bank, this has first been piloted in our in our hospital, and it is only maternal and newborn hospital. So there's a chance that implementing this newborn screening program in our hospital can lead path to the scaling of this program nationwide in public as well as private setup. So this has been talked earlier. I don't want to go in much detail in this slide. Yes, we have burden of medical research in Nepal, like the burden of intellectual disability, and the previous studies showing that the prevalence of CAS, CS, G6P deficiency, and other metabolic disorders are there. So, so it's never too late, and I think we can start newborn screening with fewer diseases. But in the long run, we can we can follow the trends in what other Southeast Asian countries have followed, like adding up other disorders in our newborn screening. So this was a survey done into 12 hospitals. So it was a phone survey, and we just wanted to know like what are they doing with the suspected babies. Like many of these, almost all, reply that they have been sending it somewhere in India, like Lalpath and other labs. So this is how they have been diagnosing metabolic disorders in absence of robust newborn screening program. So the government perspective is to decrease newborn mortality rate to less than 11 by 2035, and now all the programs, they are targeted toward decreasing premature related complications, neural sepsis and birth asphyxia, because this carries the most of the burden. And the next target is to address the challenges that are caused due to especially newborns requiring newborn surgery in the early newborn period. Though we know the burden, we are still yet to set up these facilities and dedicated newborn surgical team, because without them this is not possible. And I think the government has been working and closely working with the provinces to address these challenges. And when we were about to implement newborn screening, we had several discussions with Ministry of Health and the representatives from the Ministry of Health, especially Dr. Krishna Paudel and the team. So what was their what was their vision was to implement it successfully in Fotoghar, and if it is successfully implemented, and if you know the burden, I mean, mentioned earlier, it's about how newborn screening program would be implemented. So we came to know, especially from Professor Carmen Sita, Professor Brad, Dr. Seema Kapoor, Marika Case was there during the 7th workshop. So it has been phenomenal to so many people around, like even from our even from Nepal. Like we had, I was lucky to meet people experts from TUTS and other hospitals, and it was and to meet Professor Diane Aisa is very is a, is a is ve- is a very lucky part, because to scale it up we need mentorship, and we are very thankful for that. So and at that time uh, it was at that time we could advocate with the ministry, and especially the then health minister was quite positive, and so without any delay uh, he was very keen on inaugurating these services, and he, and he was the one who pushed the team Fotoghar, and finally it was inaugurated, and then then we start doing the first test was run on December 3, and the second test was run on December 12, and we what we failed was a subcommittee, because when you are implementing this newborn screening program in other provinces, because many of you, while you go back to your institution in some months or later, you will be establishing this in your setup also, and this subcommittee is very important, because only pediatricians or only pathologists cannot alone do this, or we need experts of endocrinologists, we need expert consisting of a neurologist and developmental specialist, because newborn screening is just, so we came to know that newborn screening is just not screening, it's an integrated package from screening to management in the long term, and we're just at infant stage for present. So these are the conditions that are being screened. So while we were screening 7 disorders, we were suggested to start with 2, 3, or that will be enough. So, but for some reason we happened to screen all this. So we had a discussion. So somewhere among the committee, some were saying, okay, let's start with TSH, CAH, and galactosemia at least, and we can do, and G6PD, and we can do the rest later. So, but ultimately we started with all the 7. So, in my experience, if you are starting, then we like we had a close meeting yesterday, and we are so we came up with a suggestion that starting with 2 or 3 would be good enough for now. So, so we started at 2024 October. So in October, November, December, it was in December we screened a lot. So it was, and in the early part of January, then we had a break. So there was a break because we faced some challenges, and I'm going to discuss those challenges. So we ran out of the reagents. So because we had already procured, but there were some procurement, but it takes time. So what we came to know that at least we have to plan for reagents that would be sufficient for the next 6 months. And earlier than 3 months, then you have to be very alert that, okay, your reagents, you are running out, you will be running out of reagents. So at that time, you should make sure that you will have a good amount of reagents to continue screening. So this was a challenge, and now we are following that. So in 2024, we screened 1,100 cases, and 11 came out to be positive for PKU, CAH. So the greatest number of cases were for CAH, and 4 cases of CAH were diagnosed at the same time, and it was like the chaos we faced during COVID time. So because we were quite nervous, scared, anxious. It felt like epidemic just hit our hospital. So because it was a challenge, because 3 of the parents were already discharged from our hospital, and so then it was a challenge to contact them by phone, and we could not contact them by on time. And when you contacted, like Dr. Sailendra shared earlier, 2 of the babies, they have already died. It was already more than 14 days. We knew that we have to do this test before at least 7 days of life, because the baby would, because it's a classical case of CAS, then the baby would probably die, and that's what happened. And this was a learning for us, and so we're trying to solve this issue, and we are on the phase to solve this. And 2025 also we started just 3.5 months earlier, and we detected around 22 cases. So follow-up were mainly through phone and in person, because so there it was a learning for us. Like, many of the babies were detected were from were already admitted in NICU for some reason. Like, there was a case of who were admitted for poor feeding. And then the baby had repeated vomiting. So we did all the tests. The blood parameters were not within normal range. We consulted pediatric surgeon. So it was good and well from his side, and the baby started getting better, and then we discharged the baby. So but the test came late. The results came late. We contacted the parents after the 14th day, and when he called the baby, and as the parent received the call, there was a complete silence. Then we knew the baby already expired. So this was another sad story. So then we decided like, we should not do newborn screening if the test results were going to be dispatched after 7 or 14 days. So we are okay. I'll discuss these things in challenges. So earlier we have infrastructure challenges, like where to set up. So we got the machine, but where to install it. So we solved this issue. Then we had problem with sample collection, because we didn't have a dedicated staff for that. So we're very fortunate to have a few dedicated staff from NICU and nursing staff, so who would just do their duties beyond duty hours also. We only had one dedicated staff. So I would suggest, based on experience, like if you are to collect like 20 samples, then one dedicated staff is necessary. And if you are to collect 50, then 2 are must. And it is very good if you can do it by the team in the postnatal ward yourself, because there are other nursing staff, and they can be really helpful in this aspect. And so once we diagnose, the challenge was with the confirmatory testing. And for confirmatory testing, for few cases, we did the confirmatory testing. We avail the fund required for the confirmatory testing for a few cases, but it was not under the scheme, under the budget we received, because we are more focused towards buying reagents, and so we lack somewhere in confirmatory testing. With repeated counseling also, we fail in almost say 30 to 40% or more of the cases, because we have other priorities, like as being under a government institution and working under government, we are all awed by the priorities of government, like to decrease the birth related to sepsis, prematurity, and birth asphyxia. So newborn screening is still on shadow, but it has now sensitized to some extent, and now we have just made a plan to do confirmatory testing, to separate some budget from hospital side for confirmatory testing for those who are not able to do it on their own. And maybe in the coming days we'll be able to do that in the babies who are screened through newborn screening and detected positive. Uh, so when you started implementing, training was the must. So we developed some brochures. We printed some, but not to the extent we required, because we have 24,000 delivery per year, and like somebody say, we have the suggestion, like it is better to start with antenatal counseling and provide the brochure at that time, because that would be more effective. Then we do the postnatal counseling after baby is born. We also lack proper national policy and legislation. Now, after 6 months of implementation, we find it easy, like we can get consent from the parents. But in the initial days, what we found was like, even we say it is free of cost, many of them would get scared with counseling, and they were just reluctant to do the test. And yeah, there were a few days when we could not draw even a single sample. So now we have overcome this this challenge, and so now we have screened around 4,000 babies. There are a lot of positive cases. Some are also confirmed with some conditions. And the thing is to the journey doesn't stops here, because the thing is to track them. And in government facilities, I think it's a common problem in many of the government facilities. Like, we are not able to track the high-risk newborn or the newborn babies, the sick newborns who have been admitted and discharged, because studies done in Pokhara, in Fotoghar, has shown that the babies who have been discharged from NICU, they have died at home or some facilities after they have been discharged. So that can be that can be one factor. We are not able to decrease newborn mortality, because we are not able to follow up these babies. And so is the situation with the babies who have been diagnosed with newborn screening. We could follow up some babies who have been diagnosed with PKU and CAH, and now after a few follow-ups, we could not follow up them because we don't have a dedicated follow-up structure. We lack it from the beginning for the babies who were admitted, because it's a must that the babies who have been discharged from NICU, the sick babies should be followed for at least for developmental, to assess the developmental milestone if they are achieving it well. So that's the issue with the newborn screening program also. Whenever we would detect a baby with newborn screening and do some confirmed testing, then we found that managing them is not that okay. Managing them, treating them, or initiating treatment is not that easy. But bringing them for regular follow-up until adolescence is quite challenging, because we lost them before infancy, in our experience, because we don't have good access to dietary, hormonal, and other therapies. Like, even if you have to get hydrocortisone tablets, or even we need some special formulas for PKU, it's not available in Nepal. So we have to rely and get it from India. I think in the long run, this challenge can still be overcome, because we have just faced this challenge. We have just identified the challenge, and the next step is to resolve the problems we faced. So after 6 months of implementation, we faced challenges, and we had some initial outcomes. So we as a team publish a paper, but this is not available online until next week. So we had a very sad story of, especially a story of 4 CS babies who died. Maybe we could have saved the babies if the tests were done before 7 days, but because we know this, we knew that it has to be done before 7 days, but because we had a challenge like without, if we run the test without collecting 80 or 160 samples, then we might not be able to run it smoothly after the after the reagents are finished. So there was discussion, arguments, and finally we have to accept that for now let's just do screening. So because of that, we have to lose these babies. But now, so we have decided not to do the newborn screening after 14 days, because if we even if we diagnose, we won't be able to treat these babies, and I think that is useless in a way. And so the hearing from you all, and we feel like we are not alone. Like we have a lot of experts within the country. So now we have found where the problem lies, and so the problem is one major problem is in conformity testing, and we had a talk with director yesterday, and he's the one who is in close contact with the Ministry of Health, and so perhaps in the conformity testing, because it's a must, and without confirming we cannot institute the treatment. Because just on the basis of some clinical symptoms and newborn screening tests as such, I think it's still unethical to start treatment. Maybe we can hear it more from the experts. And yes, we are still. We have. It's not just been a year. We started. Maybe in the year 1, 2, 3, like you have shared the poster, the pictures of babies with congenital hypothyroidism, the baby receiving treatment and the baby not receiving treatment. There is a vast difference in the developmental in the history and the life they are the life they are having now. So I think newborn screening is just in with screening. There's much to go beyond screening. It's conformity test, and along with that, following them up to beyond the newborn and childhood, up to adolescence or even more. So from this consolidated meeting, I am hopeful that we'll be under the same umbrella, be it private setup or it's government setup, because all the 600,000 babies they are all Nepalese. So I think it's high time we should think of some society like newborn screening society or something that can really advocate for the better management of the babies in the recent future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Prajal Paudel. Post-lunch sessions, everyone is feeling sleepy. I wish I could truly play a music of newborn crying in the background. So just imagine newborn crying in your head, and it will freshen up us. So Dr. Prajal Paudel is available for any question, which you can always engage with him during the tea breaks. So we'll move to next session now.
Thank you, sir, for discussing about the challenges, including infrastructure, turnaround time, work and training restrictions, national policies, patient counseling, and many more. So we'll go with the flow with our next speaker. I'd like to welcome Ms. Marika Case. Marika Case is an accomplished international business leader and healthcare executive with a strong commitment to advancing public health, particularly in the field of newborn screening. With over 2 decades of experience in newborn screenings, he has played a key role in supporting program development across emerging markets in Asia-Pacific region, including countries with developing economies, and has facilitated numerous international workshops, bringing global experts together to strengthen screening system worldwide. Driven by a future-oriented vision and strong strategic leadership, she has dedicated her career to expand access to high-quality diagnostics and newborn screening services. She is currently a Director, Strategic Initiative Reproductive Health at Reviti. Today, she will be sharing about technology used for newborn screening establishment and scaling up newborn screening program in Nepal. Please welcome Marika Case with a huge round of applause.
It's a huge honor to stand in front of this audience today. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Santosh and Dr. Vivek for pulling such a compelling agenda for these 2 days, and also bringing all key stakeholders together today and yesterday. So our objective and this event objective is really promote newborn screening and encourage Nepal to provide comprehensive quality newborn screening for everyone, since early diagnosis matters. I myself, I have a dual role, so I am IFCC ISNS task force member, but I'm also representing Reviti. At Reviti, we are committed to support you when your objective is to save lives. So last year in September, a small group of newborn screening leaders across Asia-Pacific region from countries with no screening program or a program that screened less than 50% gathered in Kathmandu. So Dr. Brachel represented Nepal together with Dr. Adhikari. And I have to say that it's so nice to now, only after 1 year, to come back in Nepal and follow up what has been done and plan the future journey together. So newborn screening is the best possible preventive health care, and a national program such as newborn screening should leave no one behind. So small drop of blood can be life-saving. Every baby born in Nepal should have equal access to newborn screening and follow-up care across all socio-economic groups or regional geographic regions. And here, dry blood spot technology really address these equity concerns. So dry blood spot sample is easy to collect, and it is stable for postal delivery at any location, so thereby eliminating the geographic barriers. So dry blood spot matrix is really delivering a unique benefits, especially when trying to reach out the remote areas and resource-limited settings. Newborn screening has a huge impact in improving health and welfare of a society. There are many excellent examples of the economic value proposition of a newborn screening in low and middle income countries. And case Sri Lanka is especially compelling. So that showed almost 4% return of investment for congenital hypothyroid screening. So government of Sri Lanka, they were able to save $1.8 million in healthcare costs while only spending $500,000 in setting up a screening program for congenital hypothyroidism. So newborn screening is not just a health intervention or health innovation, but it is an investment for human capital development with a significant returns. WHO has a vital role in enforcing importance of newborn screening. And last year at 77th World Health Assembly, WHO urged all member states to start universal newborn screening in low and middle income countries. So this resolution was signed and endorsed by the ministries of health of all member states. So this is a great tool to use when convincing government to act. Now, I'd like to share a little message from the Dr. Anshu Banerjee. He's a director of a maternal, newborn, child and adolescents health in WHO Geneva. So he's kind of describing what's the impact of the resolution and how can this resolution help low and middle income countries to implement newborn screening program. So let's hear what Dr. Banerjee has to say.
Countries can ask WHO for support. Partners on the ground can go to ministries of health and say that, you know, you agreed, because in the end, the resolutions are endorsed by the ministries of health. And so it is, in a way, it's a commitment from the ministries of health to look at how to scale it up. And as Carmen has highlighted, you know, this is not going to be over a 1 year or a 2 year period. I think her slide really showed that it took a long time, over 10 years, to reach a certain coverage level, after which then government took it on and made it part of their health insurance system. So it's going to be a path, but I think we have tools here whereby civil society can work together with government, they can advocate for it, they can work with parliamentarians to look at how to take this forward, raise it onto the political agenda at the country level.
So Dr. Carmen Sita, she's sitting at this WHO framework that is going to publish the guidance to low and middle income countries early next year. And here Carmen Sita is kind of telling how this framework is guiding low and middle income countries to choose the initial panel for newborn screening.
The frame working on actually is going to give an opportunity for an LMIC country to choose which entry point. Much as we want CH and sickle, there are some countries who want to start with another condition. So there will be a lot of lobby, I think, within the country. You will need a champion who's willing to bring the program to a level wherein it's sustainable. But what we're hoping is that the entry point in the framework will allow the country to expand for a program. So if somebody decides to start with CH, congenital hypothyroidism, then there's room for expanding to the rest of the conditions. But definitely it's a framework that's going to be a guidance. And I think it will be ready by next year because and all parts of the world will be represented in the conversation.
So newborn screening often starts small, as we've discussed, with a low coverage and limited panel focusing on a few critical conditions. Also often the newborn screening programs or they are kind of a project-based, and the funding is also project-based. But this is still a very important first initial implementation. And I think Nepal, you are right now just in this very first initial implementation phase. You need 1, 2, or many champions to drive this, because it is going to take a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and a passion. But I've seen this passion and energy in this room today and yesterday. So I really truly think that Nepal has a very good chance to be able to succeed. In order to get the true sustainability, it always takes government mandate and government support, as so many people have said today. But typically at this stage, countries able to reach 25% coverage or more, and that's the time when the panel kind of can expand. It is going to be a lengthy process, but the ultimate goal is to set up a nationwide newborn screening that is funded by the health insurance. So what is Revvity's role in this game? So we are helping countries around the world to set up and manage their newborn screening process from start to finish, from sample collection to result reporting. So our understanding what's important comes with working with the newborn screening programs for over 4 decades in over 110 countries. So that has given us time and expertise to understand the needs and really develop a comprehensive solutions that can meet the different type of needs. Newborn screening is not just a test. That's also what we heard many times, and that's so true. So you need to have all components: education, screening, short-term follow-up, diagnosis, treatment, and long-term follow-up. Everything must be in place and interlinked to each other. So our focus is in the screening piece. So we are focusing on the laboratory, but every other thing must be in place in order newborn screening being a successful program. Countries that are starting, countries like Nepal, there are different type of the strategic models for implementation. Typically, it can be kind of a two models: public-private partnership and or government-led initiative. Or quite often, this could be a hybrid model that works the best. So benefits or advantages of the public-private partnership is that you're able to maybe faster implement. And another thing is that is needing a lower upfront government investment. But as we heard so many times, to be able to provide sustainable program, it must be government mandated, government supported, government-led initiative. Because that gives or offers better long-term control. It also allows better integration to the healthcare infrastructure, and you're able to kind of gradually develop your skills and build the capacity. But at the same time, the hybrid model can allow you to do the same. So the public-private partnership can, for example, install the system at your government hospital, help you to provide the services, and thereby developing your skills and build the capacity for the future. So I have a few practical examples. Quite often it's said that the main barrier is the lack of samples. So we are not able to get enough samples. So that's really the first barrier for us. And if we think about that, if you are able to get 7 samples a day, that means that you are able to run half a plate once a week. So you can start your operations. And then you need to pick up your panel carefully. Like, for example, we heard that with the congenital adrenal hyperplasia, you need to be able to report quick. So this may be too slow for you. So therefore, at the time when you have reached, let's say, 4,500, then you then you can run half a plate twice a week. So you can have a fast turnaround time. And that could be the time when taking CAH into the panel. And then when you are increasing up to 9,000, you are kind of close to the economy of scale. So then you can run the full plate twice a week, or then you can run every other day. So, but I think the Carmencita, Diane and Aisha can maybe comment, but there's some recommendation that newborn screening laboratory should target to get at least 30,000 samples annually. That's kind of a minimum. And if you think about that, you get like, let's say 70,000. There is another publication that says that if you get 70,000 annually, that means that you're able to detect one congenital hypothyroid case every single week. And that's important to get frequently enough the positive cases, because then you know what to do, then you can react quickly, and so on and so forth. So no matter whether it's a public-private partnership or whether it's a government-led initiative, you need to have a robust instrumentation and the good quality reagents to run your program. So we Revity, we recommend to start with the semi-automated solution, because that's more cost-effective, and that enables you to do the panel expansion as well. What comes to the hemoglobinopathy screening, isoelectric focusing is used in many newborn screening programs in developed and developing world. And this allows you to pick up the sickle cell cases, thalassemias, and the traits. So we are here today to build the base for tomorrow. So starting with the two semi-automated platforms, Victor 2D for basic biochemical assays, and MyGel electrophoresis for hemoglobinopathies would be a great start. Once you're increasing your sample volume up to 50,000 or more, that would allow, and automation would bring value. So at Revity, we are committed to help you when you're setting up your pilot studies, when you're increasing your coverage, and eventually when you're expanding the panel and technologies, including the mass spec, molecular, and NGS. So implementation of the successful newborn screening program requires collaboration across sectors. So newborn screening is not just a health intervention or innovation, it is investment for human capital development with a significant returns. So every baby in Nepal, no matter where they are born, should have an equal access to comprehensive quality newborn screening. Thank you.
I was born with this medical problem that can make it difficult to walk.
I don't really know what they called, but I guess it's kinda scary.
My dad says it can hurt your brain, so you can't really learn.
I think you can even die from it.
But I won't. I won't.
I won't either.
All around the world, children born with health issues like hypothyroidism, sickle cell disease, and PKU are having a new outlook on life. That's because Revity is working with governments and healthcare providers to bring newborn screening solutions to their communities, helping to save about 85 precious lives per day. To just a small blood sample at birth, this life-saving technology can detect over 50 health disorders early enough for doctors to treat or manage them. So any child born with a deadly or disabling health issue has a better chance of beating it, creating a healthier humankind.
Thank you so much for the remarkable presentation with the strategic plans and further implementation strategies in terms of Nepal as well as the global perspective. So moving forward, we have the opportunity to hear from Professor Dr. Carmencita Padilla. Dr. Padilla is Professor Emeritus at the College of Medicine, University of Philippines, Manila, and has also served as visiting professor of the Mongolian National University of Medical Sciences and an adjunct professor of Singhal Duke National University of Singapore Global Health Institute, a pediatrician and geneticist with training in health policies. Through her strong advocacy efforts, she have driven the creation and passage of key national laws supporting Newborn Screening Act of 2004, Republic Act number of 9288, and Rare Disease Act of 2016, Republic Act of 10747. She has held several key leadership roles, including Chancellor of University of Philippines, Manila, and founding director of the Institute of Human Genetics, the Newborn Screening Reference Center, and the Philippines Genome Center. In recognition of her extraordinary contribution, she was conferred the title of National Scientist of Philippines in 2023. So we have a recorded video presentation from Dr. Padilla. Let's have a recorded video from her. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of your conference. I will be presenting the Philippine Newborn Screening Program, challenges, strategies, and lessons. I am Dr. Padilla, and I'm a pediatrician and a geneticist. This is the outline of my talk. I will give you the milestones of the program, strategies that we have implemented, as well as the factors for success. Allow me to introduce first my country. It is an archipelagic country with 7,600 islands. There are 17 political regions, and there is a corresponding regional health office for each of the political regions. The population is 112 million. The birth rate is 22.6 per 1,000. The infant mortality rate of 17.23 per 1,000, and the life expectancy is 71.79 years. As we all know, newborn screening is a universally accepted public health program. It provides an opportunity for early identification and treatment of infants with conditions that otherwise would go unrecognized prior to irreversible damage. When I go back to the beginning of newborn screening in the Philippines in 1996, the infant mortality rate was 31.4 per 1,000, and the neonatal mortality rate was 16.8 per 1,000. From the very beginning, we actually used the heel prick method because we already had plans of expansion to the inborn errors of metabolism. At the beginning of the program, we were doing collection on day 3, but this was modified to after 24 hours of life to cover the early discharges after we were able to prove that the results of day 3 were as good as the result of day 1. In 1996, we started to 24 hospitals in Manila, and we had a core group of hospitals, and each of the hospitals had a coordinator who took charge of the education, the transport of samples, and the release of results. Our objectives were very simple. We wanted to establish the incidence of 5 conditions at that time because we wanted to make recommendations for the adoption of nationwide newborn screening. As you can see, of the 24 hospitals, 18 were private and 6 were government hospitals. At that time, it was a fee for service, and we were able to identify some research grants for the patients born in the government hospitals. But right now, from 24 hospitals in 1996, we now have more than 7,200 hospitals and birthing centers offering newborn screening across the country in 7,600 islands. In 2024, we had 1.3 million babies, and we had a coverage of 92%. In 1996, we had 5 conditions, and now we are screening for 29 conditions. In each of the hospital and birthing center, this is happening. We have education happening, education primarily for parents as well as health workers, so that when the baby is born in a facility, the mothers or the parents are already convinced about newborn screening. The blood spots are collected and transported to the laboratory using one of the courier services. When results are available, they are sent back to the facility, and if the result is positive, then it goes to one of the community clinics for long-term follow-up. As part of our strategy for cutting down the cost, we do not have a newborn screening center in every hospital. A newborn screening center consists of a testing facility as well as the follow-up component for the program. The newborn screening center is responsible for closing the case, which means they recall and close the case and come up with a final diagnosis. All confirmed cases are endorsed to the community clinics for monitoring and long-term follow-up. At present, we have 7 laboratories across the country, and as you can see, they're actually regionally located, strategically located, covering a certain number of hospitals within the country. This slide will show you that we have divided short-term follow-up and long-term follow-up. So for the short-term follow-up, as I had mentioned, it is the responsibility of the newborn screening center. And if they have difficulty of recalling the patient for confirmation, the Department of Health comes into play in tracking down the patient. Once the patient is diagnosed, the patient is transferred to the community clinic, and this time you can see that it involves the lifetime monitoring of the patients. If during the monitoring of the patient, again, there is difficulty in tracking down the patient, then once again, the Department of Health would assist the clinic in tracking down the patients. We only started opening community clinics in 2014. So prior to 2014, the patients are sent back to the pediatricians or the family physicians or the general practitioner for the care of the patient. But we saw some problems in the outcomes, and we felt that the public health system and even the private health system was not really ready to care for some of the patients with rare conditions. So we set up the community clinics primarily to be manned by a part-time pediatrician, a full-time nurse, and they will be responsible for referring the patient to a network of specialists. If you look at the map, the blue ones are actually community clinics. But we have identified satellite clinics, the one in the red triangle, because we do have patients, just maybe 1 or 2 or 3 in a distant island. So in other words, it is possible to set up a satellite clinic to care for 1 or 2 patients, and they will be connected to one of the regular community clinics. Also in this map, we can see that we have 3 centers for human genetic services. Once again, because of the lack of specialists, we've been able to request the Department of Health to have a policy, a memo, setting up 3 major centers for human genetic services to make sure that there is sufficient supervision in the long-term management of the patients who have been confirmed with one of the conditions. So the Centers for Human Genetic Services would facilitate the comprehensive clinical evaluation, the appropriate management, both diagnostic and therapeutic, and as well as the genetic counseling to the families or individuals with the genetic conditions. This will be this will be led by a geneticist, and the team will consist of genetic counselors, nurses, a nutritionist, and in some cases, a social worker. The Center for Human Genetic Services help both in the short-term follow-up as well as the long-term follow-up of the patients. The Philippines has a shortage of specialists. We only have 21 clinical geneticists, about 40 pediatric endocrinologists, and 100 pediatric hematologists. To be able to serve all the patients across the country, we have actually come up with committees for the specific disorders. We have a committee on the metabolic disorders, a committee on G6PD deficiency, thalassemia, congenital hyperthyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and cystic fibrosis. And these committees are responsible for developing the algorithms for screening, protocols for confirmation and treatment, and they review the answers to frequently asked questions for doctors and patients. And these are actually found in the website of the Newborn Screening Reference Center. It is very important to engage all the specialists across the country as we build the trust on the program, that it is not Manila-centric, that we are able to engage all the specialists in the different regions, provinces, and hospitals across the 7,000 islands of the Philippines. One of the major components of the program that we took on early on was addressing how we could maintain the quality of the program. And we all know that quality is not limited to the laboratory testing, because newborn screening is not just a test. Newborn screening actually is a program, and there are many players. So what we have done is actually to develop self-assessment tools. They're called checklists, and they are quality tools for the different components or different players of the program. So we will have a tool for the newborn screening centers, for the Department of Health, because we do have regional implementers in the region, for the different hospitals and birthing centers, and even the continuity clinics. And we actually started out with the tool that was made by the US and modified it to adapt to our local application. Now, this starts out as a self-assessment checklist, but eventually is validated by a face-to-face visit by the Newborn Screening Reference Center. The difference now with the laboratory is that we have actually invited international experts. We have one here, Dr. Thorell from the US and Dr. Veronica Wiley from Australia, to actually review the laboratories and decide on whether they will be reaccredited as a newborn screening center. This actually keeps the labs on their toes, and for the past decades now, they have come in every year to make sure that the standards of the different laboratories will pass international standards. Now, this slide captures the story of newborn screening. And as you can see, that we really started out as research, as I said, and we had the law implemented in 2004. The insurance covered newborn screening in 2006. And even with the law and insurance, you can see that it was not easy to actually capture 100% immediately. It actually took us more than 10 years to even cover 50% of the population. What I see as important in this case is the involvement of the local government units, because health in the Philippines is devolved. And as we got more local government units engaged, then of course the numbers increased. We did our pilot on expanded newborn screening at the end of 2014, and that is represented by the red bar in your screen. And you can see that since it wasn't covered by insurance at that time, the coverage of those being covered by expanded screening was really low. But as soon as insurance covered expanded newborn screening, then you can see that, we really reached more than 90%. What is interesting in this slide is that during COVID, our numbers did not go down, despite the fact that the borders closed. And it only shows that for a program to succeed, whether you have a pandemic or a disaster, it's really the people who will make it happen. And I will say that this happened because of a whole of society and a whole of government approach to the program. So at this point, we have been able to cover 92% of the population, and the remaining percent is actually broken down to 4% in the very far-flung islands down south, and we still have about 4% who are actually home delivered. Just to give you a preview of the cases that we have, the top 3 conditions would still be congenital hypothyroidism, 1 in 2,560, and G6PD deficiency, which is 1 in 60. And if I were to put together all the hemoglobinopathies, that would roughly be about really 1 in 1,000 at this point. So to date, we have screened 20 million rather, and we have confirmed more than 300,000 patients. So what factors led to its success, and what lessons can we share with the LMICs and the LICs? What can we share with Nepal? Reflecting back, I'd like to believe that the number one reason for its success is that we had an army of dedicated health advocates. As I said, each of these hospitals has a newborn screening coordinator, and there is no financial incentive for any of these coordinators, despite the fact that that person is in charge of ensuring that every baby in that hospital or birthing center is screened, and that if ever is positive, is recalled properly for confirmatory testing. The second reason for its success with, I think, the use of legislation as a strategy. For this first 7 years, it was really voluntary, but with great difficulty in getting the hospitals to participate. It was suggested that we use the track of legislation. So finally, in 2004, we were lucky that it got passed with 5 major highlights of the law. Number 1, putting the Department of Health as the lead agency. Number 2, newborn screening being covered by PhilHealth, which is the social insurance component. In other words, we have a benefits package just for newborn screening. The third is the creation of the Newborn Screening Reference Center, which is a technical partner of the Department of Health. The fourth will be the obligation of the health workers to inform the parents or legal guardians of the newborn about newborn screening. And the fifth bullet will be the inclusion of newborn screening as a condition for licensure and accreditation. Committed funding is critical for long-term sustainability. And we are very fortunate, as I said, that it is covered because there is a statement in the law that says that it has to be covered by insurance. And right now, the fee actually has covered practically all components of the program. We just had a recent increase in the fee. And at this point, the newborn screening fee covers health promotion, education of the health workers, the testing, the diagnosis, the management, and the follow-up. The fourth point is the engagement of academia. Uh, the creation of the Newborn Screening Reference Center was requested by both the Senate and the House of Representatives to ensure that beyond the terms of leadership of different ministers, that there is guidance in the long-term implementation of the program. So I said this office actually provides technical input to the Department of Health for the issuance of new policies related to newborn screening. The fifth strategy would be getting the support of policymakers. And there are different levels of policymakers. In this slide, you will see the different health secretaries who have committed to support the program. We, the program people, will stay, but the ministers will change. So it is very important that every time there is a new minister, a new secretary of health, that we make an appointment and discuss with them the updates about the program and the goals of the program. Handshakes are very important. So I encourage everybody that find time, talk to your minister, talk to your secretary, and share your plans for the future. Because the future of the next generation is the concern of ministers and secretaries. Another level of policy engagement will be the regional offices of the Department of Health. And as I've said earlier, that every political region, there is a regional office for the Department of Health. And in the Philippines right now, in each of the regional office, there are there are doctors and nurses dedicated to newborn screening program implementation. I consider this a very important part of long-term planning because certain policies may emerge at the regional level, not necessarily at the national level. Another level for policy makers would be the local government executives. And that is the reason why we need to have champions at all levels because they have to talk to the mayors in their place, the governors, and it is possible to actually come up with health resolutions at the level of the city or at the level of the province. Well, of course, if you're lucky enough, as I was, decades ago, getting the support of the president of the country is maybe one major push that you can have. This was taken in 2006, just when the law was passed and we're pushing for numbers. And as you can see here, the president of the Philippines was like the host of the show, and the Secretary of Health and myself were answering the questions. And together in this interview, I brought in patients who were saved and not saved. Another very important component of a program is the continuous training and advocacy. We have one poster that is in every hospital and in every birthing facility, and it shows two children. The girl, both of them have the same condition, congenital hyperthyroidism. The girl had screening and was saved, and the boy was diagnosed at the age of 14 and is severely retarded. And of course, the girl grew up normal. She's actually an engineer right now and about to get married next year. Well, as the boy is up to this day is severely retarded. So this poster has been very successful in bringing home the message, not only to the health workers, but most especially to the families. In addition to the poster, at the beginning of the program, we had a comic book that we distributed to many parts of the country. And we actually had, for one thing, they still received the brochure up to this point. And we had printed newsletters and newspaper articles. But we just have to adapt the technology. So now, of course, we have the website, we have Facebook, we've got Twitter, and the time of COVID, when we wanted to continue actually training people on the ground, we do have a webinar series that is actually saved on YouTube. So which means even if you have new doctors, nurses, and midwives, or even students, then they can go back to the series and learn about newborn screening. Engaging the family is very powerful. At the beginning, it was mainly the doctors and the nurses and the midwives who were giving the talks. But eventually, the families, the parents, and the children were the ones already were the speakers, and we call them the ambassadors. And we request the family to share the experiences about the diagnosis and support. And that is more powerful than the doctors telling the families that newborn screening is important. We also tapped celebrities. So depending on the generation, we have used whoever was popular at the time, not only in posters, but giving testimonies and even commercials. This particular commercial that you see here went on radio, television, and cinema houses way back in 2007, just trying to capture the different populations that we have in the country. So my next important strategy is having the your papers being reviewed. When you are expecting a continuous issuance of policies from the Department of Health, they are going to ask you for data. I mean, right now we're doing another cost-benefit analysis of the program. We did one 20 years ago. And to sustain funding and commitment and support, the academic community will have to continue the publication. So, I mean, right now we've got really more than 100 papers on newborn screening. We've got about another 20 actually in the pipeline. And we have identified our priorities right at this point. We're looking at implementation strategies and outcomes in the ground. We're looking at outcomes and challenges and solutions in sustaining the program. The hardest part for me at the beginning was trying to get research money, actually. But what we've done is we've actually dedicated a part of the fee for newborn screening research, both for basic and operational research. And we have identified a research agenda because when you're running a program, you will never run out of research questions. And we have put out our priority topics for 2025 and for the next 5 to 10 years. We do commission research projects, and maybe one example I can give you is we commissioned a project on G6PD and CAH. But for CAH, if I may mention this, there was a time when we had a lot of babies who passed away, and we were trying to review the traditional method of testing, and we were looking at the value of molecular testing. And the conclusion of this conversation at this point is that we will continue our traditional testing, and we will just use molecular testing or mutation analysis as a second tier at this particular time. So we also give grants to undergraduates, to students, undergraduates and postgraduates, because we'd like the interest to be sustained, not only among those who are implementing it, but even in the younger generation. Now, my last strategy, it's really the partnerships and the collaborations, both in the private sector and the public sector. The pictures I'm showing here is not complete, but let me just highlight a few things that I have put in here. The people in the lab, that's one set because they have to feel the value of what they're working on. But as you can see here, we have engaged here midwifery societies, the deans of nursing schools, and this one will actually be for the medical schools. The National Academy of Science and Technology, way back in 2003, brought in all of these deans to explain the value of newborn screening. Because if you're going to look at a long-term program, we will have to look at the training of the future midwives, nurses, and physicians. We have actually looked at the private sector this time, the um, um, the societies. We have a youth group who is endorsing the product. We have the hospital coordinators. We have the counselors. And even at one point, actually, we had to talk to the religious groups, especially when we were pushing for legislation, because we had to make sure that there was no group that will go against the newborn screening bill that we were filing for legislation at that time. So as you can see here now, it's everybody who has a connection to newborn screening, whether professionally, personally, academically, will have to understand the value of newborn screening and that their assistance is important for the continuing success of the program. We have continuing challenges. We still have, we have 7 times on islands. There are some issues actually in recall. In terms of accessibility, we don't have enough specialists. That's why we have moved into telegenetics and teleconsultations for some of these patients. For adherence to treatment, that is the reason why we did the continuity clinics, because we discovered that some families would stop the treatment when they see that their child is okay. And of course, one of our major challenges really the disasters and the pandemics. Laging handa is a local slogan for saying you just have to be prepared all the time because we have typhoons all year round and so on. And that is the reason why, as I said, it is a whole of society and a whole of government approach. So in summary, what were the strategies for success? Getting an army of health advocates, using legislation as a strategy, making sure it's funded, especially by the government, through insurance, partnering with the academe in the national implementation, working with policymakers, whether at national, regional, or local level, having a plan for continuous training and advocacy, getting the support of patients, parents, families, and communities, as I said, a set of ambassadors, getting the support of celebrities, making sure there are continuous publications and research, and last but not least, having the partnerships and collaborations with the private and public sectors. So just if I can just share a few developments in the last few minutes of my talk, I just want to share with you that we do have a Philippine newborn screening information system. We're trying now to integrate all of our data across the different laboratories, across the different clinics, and hopefully putting them into one system so that with easy access, then maybe it will be easier to generate the data that's needed actually by government for new policies, policy development. So we're working on the consolidation of our databases. We're looking at integrating systems. We're upgrading our LIMS, and at this point we've got maps and dashboards. And I actually have a whole lecture just on this one, but I think we just have to use technology so that it will be more accessible for future policy development. The other thing that's happening right now is that because of the system that we have put together that has been working, we actually are now going to put into place also the birth defects into the system of newborn screening. The pilot has been completed on 90 hospitals, but what we're saying is that aside from the blood spot now, we will actually be identifying patients with neural defects, cleft, gastroschisis, and omphalocele club feet, and now initiate an algorithm for referral and treatment of these patients. And as a direction, a future direction, maybe for the region, I do want to share with you that we have an effort on sharing best practices. And as you can see here, I have two publications that you might want to read. But what we've done way back in 2008 is actually to put together the countries with coverage of less than 50% or no newborn screening yet at that time. And for each of these meetings, we actually put together a group of program coordinators. And we talk about problems, talk about strategies, and then come up with a commitments on what they will present next time. Each of these meetings generated a declaration which lists down exactly what they want to do. And we just completed one in 2024. And then we have another one coming up in 2026. Nepal is actually represented here by Dr. Prajal and Dr. Sri, Director Sri. And I think, it is important for all of us to share experiences and struggles and challenges and successes. I've always said that, especially when you're starting, we should celebrate small successes, big or small. And it is important we don't do it alone. We do it with a team. And we as a community in Asia can help each other. So, on behalf of the more than 300,000 children we have saved so far, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share our story in the Philippines. And I wish you the best, especially here in Nepal, as you move forward your program. And I know that your minister is very supportive of newborn screening. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patela, for the recorded video that was smart, motivating, as well as strategic journey of Philippines in newborn screening. And as they say, slow and steady wins the race. I hope that comes true in case of a newborn screening program in Nepal. So as we have survived the post-lunch zone, now we'll have a quick 10 minutes coffee break and we shall gather for the final session of this conference. Thank you. I really hope that was a refreshing coffee break. So I request everyone to be on the hall so that we can continue with our further session. So to further continue with our conference today, now I'd like to welcome Dr. Aisha Habib Khan. Sisos is the professor of clinical pathology at Aga Khan University. She established the university's biochemical genetics laboratory and is a founding chair of its newborn screening committee. Internationally, she co-chairs the IFCC ISNS Global Task Force on Newborn Screening and holds the key leadership roles as treasurer and executive council member of International Society for Newborn Screening. In addition, she represents Pakistan on the Academic Council of Society for the Study of Inborn Error in Metabolism. So let's hear the experience of Pakistan of newborn screening establishment from Dr. Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. So all of you must have been tired by now after listening to so much science, and are you? No? You're happy because you're passionate champions, right? You can hear more, right? That's the kind of ownership that we want from the local people, right, on newborn screening. So let's just for a while, just to change the flavor, let's do one exercise. So just for a minute, think what, so think what you are going to do after this meeting. What one thing that you will do after this meeting on newborn screening? So what is that one thing that you will do after this meeting finishes on newborn screening? So think for a while, then pair with your colleagues, whoever is sitting on the table, and share that point with the other person. So just do that. Come on. So think one thing that you people will do after this meeting ends. And then think, pair, and share. So come on, you can join this group. Yes. So it is always good to discuss, what are your dreams and what are you thinking, and maybe the other person can add value to that, all right? So there's no harm. So I'll start with, how do I share? So now I will be talking about the experience of establishing a newborn screening program in Pakistan. And I have nothing to disclose. And here is an outline of my presentation for this talk. And what I did was that I distributed it into 4 parts. In the first part, I will talk about the national demographics and health overview of Pakistan, so that all of you are able to understand the difficulties and the challenges. Then the part 2 is related to early steps and lessons in Pakistan newborn screening journey. And part 3 is about my own journey, reflections for building a newborn screening program from the ground up. And part 4 is moving forward from pilot to policy and from program to public health. So Pakistan is a very diverse, heterogeneous, versatile land. It's organized into it's a federation of 4 provinces. There's Punjab, there's Sindh, KPK, Balochistan, and there is federal territory which comprises of Rawalpindi and Islamabad. And it's a diverse land, and there are more than 15 major ethnic groups who are residing in 4 provinces. And each of these ethnic groups have a very distinct and diverse lifestyle. There are different cultural values, and these cultures are highly influenced by cultures coming from Afghanistan, which is our neighbor, Iran, and from India. And also, we are also influenced by West. So with this, these are the key population health indicators for Pakistan. And as you can see that we rank 5, number 5 as far as the population density is concerned. There are 5.28 million people per year are added to the country population. And these are the fertility and mortality profile of Pakistan. And as you can see that we have 3.5 per woman, and the infant mortality is very high, 47.4%, and deaths under the age of 5 is 56.9%. It's a high, much higher than Nepal and other countries. And the graph that you see is about 2-3 years back. And as you can see that among other neighboring countries, including Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan has the highest neonatal mortality rate. And one of the highest birth rates that we have, 22 births per 1,000 population. So the health system is just, there's a 3-tiered health system, primary care, secondary, and tertiary care. And it's a mix of public and private sector, with the private sector catering to over 70% of outpatient services. There was someone in the morning who said 60-40 ratio. So, but here we have 70% being covered by the private sector. So as far as the governance and policy framework is concerned, health is under provincial government, like Sindh, Punjab, they have all the provincial systems, and they manage service delivery, planning, and implementation. And if you look at the health financing, this is very low. Less than 2% of GDP is expanded on health, and it's mostly out of pocket. Remains greater than 60% for total health spending. And there are many social protection schemes. For example, Sehat Sahulat aim to reduce financial burden, but coverage and sustainability remain challenges. So there are many NGOs who are working, and they are working very nicely within the provinces. So, so with this background on population dynamics, I move to the part 2 of my presentation, because Pakistan has, so it's newborn screening is not a one step. And as you have seen with Philippines also and other countries also that we are discussing. So, so global efforts and early steps, I will be talking about these early steps where Pakistan was participating in the newborn screening efforts made by the global agencies. And one of these was International Atomic Energy Agency, which was formulated in 1957. And in 1995, they initiated a program to increase neonatal screening for congenital hypothyroidism among member nations using the RIA technique. And this was later extended and to other countries and other regions also in 1997 to 2007, but in 2008, this funding ended officially. And Pakistan was one of the member states, and therefore they were participating in all the activities, periodic regional workshops, seminars for newborn screening project, coordination with internationally recognized content experts as a faculty in a train-the-trainer format. So we all were, you know, those who were involved, they were trained in that fashion. And there were country workshops, visits were conducted to establish newborn screening laboratories, equipments, and grants. So the purpose and the objective for this International Atomic Energy Association was to accelerate and enlarge the contribution of atomic energy to peace, health, and prosperity throughout the world. So among those, you know, who were trained at that time, it was only in Punjab that you know, some implementation was conducted, while the rest of the provinces in Punjab, like Sindh, KPK, Balochistan, and Islamabad. There was nothing that was done during that era. So, and again, Dr. Kaman also showed this. There were global efforts. And again, there was role of Asia Pacific Working Group for developing neonatal screening programs. And as she mentioned, that those countries with coverage of less than 50% were included with existing newborn screening program. The purpose was to refine, expand coverage, and for countries without existing newborn screening programs, to initiate newborn screening pilot programs that will lead to a sustainable national programs. So Pakistan participated on all these declaration, which you see in the Dr. Kaman slide also, and I'm not going to go into the detail, but then this was the working group of the Asia Pacific Society for Human Genetics. So, and this photograph also, because this was the last slide, and the two representatives that you see here is Dr. Tari Zafar, and the lady is now the Dean of School of Nursing. So they both were present in that workshop, and the paper that Professor Kaman showed, they were also participating in that paper. And well, the objective is to continue regionalization and cooperation and policy development and so on. So with this global efforts, as you can see and appreciate that these efforts have been going for quite some time, but despite that, we are not able to achieve the universal newborn screening. And I will now give you the provincial update, what is happening at the provincial level. So when Punjab, as I mentioned, that they had, in response to Atomic Energy Commission funded, there were two pilot projects which were conducted, phase 1 and phase 2. And the phase 2 was ended in 2012. And this was later then taken over by another funding, which was from British Council. And this then translated into having a newborn screening at some of the hospitals within Punjab, and I have listed those hospitals. Of these, those in blue are government public sector hospitals, and those in the black are private hospitals. So at that point in time, the team was trained to develop reagents for ELISA-based TSH assay on DBS for screening at a laboratory which is known as INMOL. And this laboratory continues to work till to date. And there's capacity, and this lab has the capacity to develop enough reagents for screening all newborns in Pakistan and provided clear recommendations for integrating into health systems. So the incidence of congenital hypothyroidism in this cohort is 1 in 1,330 births. So for Sindh, we have no information on the activities that were conducted at that time. But then in 2013, the Sindh Newborn Screening Act was passed, and pilot screening for congenital hypothyroidism was conducted under NICH during 2019 to 2022. And later, the program was transferred to the Sindh Institute of Child Health and Neonatology. And currently, the program is catering all Sindh Institute of Child Health and Neonatology facilities in the province. And there's a plan to expansion to other cities as well. So far, the number of babies that have been screened in Sindh is 181,000 plus, and the incidence that is coming out of this is 1 in 1738 babies screened. So obviously there are challenges, there's recall, and there are other issues, but then they are developing. So there is some activity which is going on at the Sindh provincial level. And then there was the main, in the other two provinces, KPK and Balochistan, there was an NGO which was very active, which is called ZB Foundation. And this, at one point in time, they were covering most of the areas in that province. And from 2016 to April 2024, they were very active and screened 63,650 babies, and total confirmed positive cases of congenital hypothyroidism were 59, making an incidence of this cohort is 1 in 1,079. So 70% of the funding was from friends and families through fundraising events. And what I came to know when I was preparing for this presentation, that now the funding is not available and the program is not running to that extent. I think there are 1 or 2 hospitals for which they are catering. So then just look at this. This is AKU, my university, Aga Khan University. So the first pilot in Aga Khan University was conducted in March 87 to March 89. And 5,000 babies were screened at the campus, which is located in Karachi, and the one that you see in this photograph here also. So the incidence is 1 in 1,000 was calculated, and later, when the pilot ended, the screening continued with the serum TSH. But and the findings of the and this continued, but then there was no quality management system in the clinical labs, and the test was offered as a it was not a program that developed, and pediatricians were following the babies after they screened positive. So a 20-year audit of congenital hypothyroidism screening was performed, and so in this 20-year period, the number of children delivered were 53,619, and number of children who were screened were 41,816. So 78% children were screened, and number of children with congenital hypothyroidism, 10 children were identified with an incidence of 1 in 1,600. So that's it. So that is, the activities that were there. So now I move to what happened when we took over. And these are the reflections on developing a diverse and inclusive workforce on newborn screening at Aga Khan University Hospital Network. So it's a network. And it's I will brief you about the background of AKU. So it's a not-for-profit academic medical center that focuses on providing comprehensive services and also extends care through home health care services in Pakistan. And it is JCI, a Joint Commission International accredited, and also the laboratory is, and the laboratory network is accredited with College of American Pathologists. So there are it's a basically 710 bed quaternary care hospital in Karachi, and there is a system of 4 secondary care hospitals. One of the secondary care hospital is situated in a nearby city, Hyderabad, and there are 3 hospitals which are in Karachi. Then there are 19 medical centers, and overall there are 300 clinical laboratory collection centers across Pakistan, and includes over 50 pharmacies as well. So it's a hub and spoke model with a tertiary care center in Karachi and a lab which is accredited. So, and then there are campuses outside Pakistan also, Nairobi in Kenya, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, Kampala, Uganda, London, in London, United Kingdom as well. So what happened? This poster that you see here is from one of the meetings in Hague, and the lady that you see is a very passionate, promoter of newborn screening. So it was in 2016 that I went to attend this meeting in Hague, and this poster of Dr. Fotoghar was given the first poster prize, and we met her. And I was, at that point in time, section head of clinical chemistry, and I was listening to expert in that meeting because there were people coming with experience, with decade-long experience of newborn screening, and I just felt this guilt that why, that's my responsibility to bring in new technology, and I'm not doing anything. And I never thought of, taking this aspect, because we were doing TSH testing with the serum assay. So, and this feeling guilty for unfulfilled responsibility can also serve at times as a source of powerful motivation for actions. So it was not wise and to sit quiet as a section head. So when I returned, I had a plan in mind. And this is our overall journey. And so on my return, I added it in the strategic goal of our section, because we need to have a dried newborn blood screening feasibility was to be developed, because we did not have that in place. So we developed that feasibility, we procure equipment, and then started the training of the staff. In 2007, the first assay that we optimized was an TSH assay. And then it started another process of policies, developing policies for newborn screening. Standard operating procedures were made, updates, flyers, patient education materials that we developed. And most important, we developed a newborn screening advocacy committee for within AKUH. And then with that, we developed, and the policies and SOPs and all the things were mutually agreed. Then comes when everything was ready and agreed upon, we moved to the training for nurses for dried blood spot collection, and this took us 2008, from 2016 to 2018. And then finally we were able to run a pilot and addressing all the issues that were there, because what we identified that when the nurses were issues with drying. So they were asking that how to dry the blood specimen, because it takes about approximately 1 to 2 hours. So what we did was that we developed a in-house. Wooden structure to keep the specimen on that. And our internal department at AKU developed that. So we keep on addressing the issues, and finally in 2019, newborn screening for congenital hypothyroidism started at the main campus only. So we started, and once we consolidated it first, and then we moved to our second that should be, foolproof. So, and then we also identified program leads. Like, for example, for congenital hypothyroidism, we have a endocrinologist. And when we started making, to start with the congenital adrenal hyperplasia, we identified another team, like a program lead with one chemical pathology for CAH and an endocrinologist. And these teams then developed everything, cutoffs, algorithms, which Dr. Carmen also taught. And then this is the figures that you see here from 2019, that when we started to 2024, number of babies screened were 56,637, and we could turn out to be a 963 turned out, which is 1.7% were positive. And the follow-up was complete for 63% of the cases. Confirmed cases were 6.3%, and incidence was calculated to be 1 in 1490 in this cohort. Mean coverage was 91%. So we continue to have monthly meetings where these indicators were presented, and this program was developed in alignment with the clinical laboratory CLSI guidelines, and where it's, the evaluation is by the newborn screening committee, which has gynecologists, obstetricians, and neonatologists, pediatricians, endocrinologists. So all the relevant stakeholders, including the nursing, is also represented. And we also participate in CDC, external quality assessment. So with this, it was very important that there is diversity of engagement for advocacy, and then to ensure that access and equity for all. And true representation of the needs of the entire rare patient community cannot be, addressed. So we engage hematologists, endocrinologists, metabolic physicians, and pediatricians from the local community. So for having a consensus on conditions to be screened, because for congenital hypothyroidism, we were already doing it. So we replaced the technology. But then to include other conditions, we had this in. And most important of all, that we launch a group, PARC IMD Net, under the umbrella of Pakistan Society of Chemical Pathology. And what you see here is a very senior pediatricians who were participating, and there are many in the Sindh government who are a part of this group. So then, then many activities for capacity building through education and research since 2018 were conducted under the umbrella of PARC IMD Net, and there's Rare Link satellite seminar series that are regularly conducted, rare workshop series, rare audits and surveys are conducted, newsletter, and then to upgrade and abreast all of us, there's a metabolomic book club where we read book on metabolomics as a to understand the science behind it. And then there are newsletters which are available on internet as well. So then we further moved down to break silos and bringing synergies for having a conference on Reframe Rare in Pakistan, because we know that collective intelligence can have a multiplier effect in bringing an impact on health policy. So with this, we, so now we have the healthcare professionals who were actively engaged with us, but there was paucity of appropriate health services and support groups. So to reach out to patients, we launched an e-portal and conducted a Meet the Families social event, and this was funded by SSIM. So Ek Saath, this is a patient support group living better with IMDs in Pakistan. So, so as you know, everyone is mentioning that quality assurance, quality control, quality assurance is a key to success and evaluation and monitoring. So newborn screening for congenital hypothyroidism, we keep on as based on CQI, continuous quality improvement model, and as Carmen also mentioned, that we publish also. So. Then once this program was consolidated and we were all very comfort, the teams evolved, the data from our biochemical genetics lab on high-risk patients was showing very high prevalence of conditions which could have been saved if the newborn screening program for inherited metabolic diseases is in place. So, but then that, as you can see in the diagram, and all of you by now know, that this is not something that can be started on its own. There's a lot of things, especially treatment, advocacy, and all that is needed. So, so what we did was that together with pediatricians, and they were the main leaders here, where there was a lot of advocacy was done about from the healthcare providers, patients, and industry partners. So the issue was that food supplements was treated as nutritional supplements in Pakistan. So there was a lot of advocacy that to classify these food supplements as medicine. I'm not sure what is being done in Nepal here, but then this was a great issue to start the IMD program. So, so then this was addressed, and Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan listed it as essential medicine, and now 37 products are listed as life-saving nutrition. The other issue was that tax on food supplements in Pakistan was 72.5%, which made it very high. The price was very high. So, and we know that that these are life-saving products. So a lot of advocacy was conducted by these healthcare providers to label it as a saving product. And then there was Finance Act was passed under category of dietetic food intended for metabolic disorders. And import duty was reduced to 0%. So then a treatment of IMD is out of pocket in Pakistan. And for advocacy, after advocacy, the treatment was supported from Baitul Mal or on a health card. And this advocacy is continuously ongoing. Some patients are supported through funding by NGOs only for 10% of diagnosed patients. Again, it was not complete. And then once all of this was settled, at the laboratory front, the assays for amino acids and acyl carnitins using dried blood spot was optimized and validated. And then we develop, together we sit and we develop diagnostic algorithms and we select only those IMDs for which diagnostic and management loops can be closed in the local context. So we already have biochemical genetics lab for high-risk screening, and one such algorithm I have shown here. This is for propionic acidemia, methylmalonic aciduria diagnostic algorithm. If you have high C3, then how it should be further taken care for. And then we started, and how we started that in the phase 1, we have included only extended 8 core disorders and 4 secondary disorders. So currently, and we did not include those disorders for which confirmatory testing was not available. And as you can see that these are MSUD, citrullinemia type 1, type 2, arginininemia, homocitrullinemia, argininosuccinic acidurias. And among the organic acids, propionic acidemia, methylmalonic aciduria, and further CH and CH. So this is our panel, which is now being tested at AKU and its network. So how many lives have been saved so far through early detection? For congenital hypothyroidism, 141,996 babies screened, 55 were confirmed cases, making an incidence of 3.87 per 10,000. And then so far we have picked 3 cases out of 66,065 babies screened, making an incidence per 10,000 of 0.45. IMDs, 2 IMDs so far have been picked, 14 out of 14,623 babies screened. So having said that, it's not that we are not having issues, because there are equipment breakdown and other things. They keep on happening, but so far the program is working. And some of the success factors are that it is organized as a system in laboratory medicine by local experts using CLIA standards. And all stakeholders are included, addressing the timing, sample collection, methods, follow-up, and information sharing. And all of this is decided with consensus. Clear roles, responsibilities, accountability, and communication pathways are embedded within the AKUH healthcare system and recognized by institutions. And then we have included only those conditions which are on evidence-based with consensus among all historians. So there is obviously limitation because it is out of pocket. We've been talking about private healthcare, but it's 70% of the total healthcare provided in Pakistan. So it's across, and the only access is across AKUH network, which does not comply to United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child Support. But still, this program stands as a valuable local model and a proof of concept that can inform and guide state-sponsored programs initiatives. So, and this, now we have a team of individuals who can help move Pakistan closer to universal newborn screening and the Sustainable Development Goals. So, and at all point in time, human resource capacity building is at the heart of every newborn screening and rare disease programs. So it's not just technology. So how how we have developed that? For example, if you see in this diagram here, that we started in 2013 with a biochemical genetics lab with 2 analyzers. One was amino acid analyzer and the other was GCMS. And the yield of these 2 techniques together was very useful and was able to detect more than 40-50 disorders. So, and then we moved to have one more HPLC, then we have a spectrofluorometer for starting these CH, and now we have IRT and galactosemia and all, but then they are not part of the newborn screening program, but they are there as a test. So, and then we move to the LCMS. So so from 2 pathologists and 3 technologists with which we started, now we are 6 pathologists and 14 technologists. And when we started DBS, we started training nurses as well as phlebotomists. So at the same time, we improved the curricula as well, because traditional curricula and healthcare providers lacked the depth required of these topics in clinical practice. So allied health trainees, who are our phlebotomists in the clinical labs, so we developed a program, a virtual program for their online training of DBS collection of specimen, which is a competency-based program. Then we included in the undergraduate medical education in 2020, we moved to include medical genetics in the curricula of UGME at AKU. Then we started a module in MPhil program, because research, people were not targeting research, so that helped. And now the second group of MPhil students are being passed out. And then FCPS chemical pathology curriculum, it is now integrated into the curriculum through College of Physicians and Surgeons. So there are ongoing and future efforts. There's multidisciplinary collaboration, continuous curriculum review, and we are planning to start a fellowship program if everything goes well. And then, so we move to the way forward. Now there is a Society for Novel and Rare Disease has been formulated by a group in Lahore, and now that's a national platform. And so taking this opportunity, we, in the first international meeting, we conducted a workshop for newborn screening to develop the roadmap for newborn screening in Punjab using Groove Game Plan. And in this workshop, we involved everyone. The one you saw in the Kathmandu meeting, and those individuals who were involved in establishing newborn screening since the Atomic Energy Commission. So everyone was engaged and involved. It was a flip-style workshop, and so now we are developing a roadmap for Punjab as well. Then the other thing is, and I think Dr. Siri will be talking about this and Dr. Kaman also mentioned about this. We also thought of this because we had this opportunity of Allied Health Conference, organizing the Allied Health Conference. So we, from detection to care, shaping the future of newborn screening in Pakistan through Allied Health, because Allied Health forms a very major chunk of this. And then there are other defects like birth defects, hearing, and congenital, where you're training the healthcare people like Allied Health can bring a lot of changes. So, and when we organized this, we came to know that there is a lot of work that has been conducted by a group on birth defects, and they have been part of the WHO framework, who is making a guidance document for birth defects also. So when they all came together, so now there is a motivation to bring everyone together on one platform so that concerted efforts can be made. So, so this is, again, just to show and to reiterate, a candle when lit lights another candle, lighting the way from Karachi to Nairobi in newborn screening. So what we learned in AKU, now we have translated it to our campus in Nairobi, Kenya, and they have been trained, and now they are validating, where we are providing them with specimens for validation. So a hand should always be, like Professor Kaman also mentioned, and now when this group within the Asia-Pacific region is active, then we can all support each other. And this is my probably my last slide, so we need to strengthen local leadership, because you are the people who will bring this change. And I can see the passion, because all of you are sitting and listening to me. And then there's also one aspect, again, inclusivity and engaging diverse groups, non-competitive collaborations among stakeholders. But what is also important is the local production of kits food supplements, orphan drugs, because that is also very important. And if in some way we can achieve this, then obviously the cost will become very low. And this is my last slide, and it's a teamwork. It can never be achieved in silos, and I'm very much impressed by what Dr. Kamen showed. So they have developed a team. And we went to Geneva. There's an organization, CLAN, and Kate Armstrong is running that organization, and she mentioned about having a student group in the University of Lee in Switzerland. And so our student at AKU, and I've been thinking that since then that we should have this group in AKU Medical College, and our students are also engaged. So maybe, you should also think as an advocacy group, and since she has also mentioned that how we can enhance and educate and bring consolidation to the teams. So thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Professor Khan. Thank you. A country with similar resources and similar technical capabilities, similar to Nepal, has been moving forward step by step. I think this is something that we can adapt to our setting. So everything is already covered. So I think we can hear from next perspective from our neighboring country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khan, for sharing the journey of Pakistan with integration of newborn screening academically as well as clinically. So we'll move forward to our next speaker. We have Dr. Srihari Nair. He is a physician, public health specialist, and a healthcare strategist with expertise in maternal and child health, healthcare management, quality assurance, and developmental neurology. Backed by more than 20 years of experience, he has played a leading role in significant maternal and child health initiatives in Kerala, especially in child survival, newborn screening, and digital health through key leadership and administrative responsibilities. Dr. Srihari contributes to several global and national expert groups, including the WHO Working Group on Newborn Screening for Low and Middle Income Countries, the Kerala State Technical Committee on Rare Disease, and the Cardiac Neurodevelopmental Outcome Collaboration. He has also been affiliated with the International Clearinghouse for Birth Defect Surveillance and Research in 2018. Currently serving as an assistant surgeon with Kerala Health Services, he works closely with national and international partners to strengthen equitable and high-quality healthcare for vulnerable population. We are incredibly fortunate to have his wealth of experience and global expertise and perspective with us. So we'll be hearing on the topic learning from an implemented care pathway from inborn error of metabolism, a newborn screening experience in low and middle income country setting. Thank you.
This one, yeah. Thank you. Good evening, all. I can understand that you're all tired, but we had very good two presentations, especially from Professor Kamansita. That did everything. How a program to be started, how to run it, the quality process, and almost everything was there. And you heard from Professor Aisha also. So I'll be talking about the experience we had in Kerala. So you just listen as a story. I'll try to make it a little interesting. So till now we are all hearing about metabolic screening or the blood sport screening and all. This is a different story. We had a comprehensive newborn screening program. We started in 2016. So we call it the Shalabam. Shalabam is the local name for butterflies. So why we had to go for it? I told yesterday also, the Kerala infant mortality rate was 12 from 2000, when India was around 70. But India could reduce it gradually, and now it is only 25. Before that, a couple of years back, in 2016, the India could reduce IMR, but Kerala was stagnant. Kerala was not moving, and it is very difficult to reduce IMR from 12 to single digit. But we sat together and discussed what is the problem, where we need to act. So we have done almost everything which could have reduced IMR at that level. So we thought we need to have a special strategy. In 2016, as you know, the SDG targets were set. So the SDG target set for IMR and for 2020 was 8 in Kerala and 6 by 2030. So it was a very ambitious target. Then the government asked the Department of Health, you have set some targets, now tell us a strategy, how you are going to do this. So that is a task given to us as technical people. So we called all the experts available on ground, all the professors from pediatrics, the geneticist, the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, the professional body of pediatricians. So all came together and sat, discussed. We found that there are some gaps still there. One was, even though we say that our AMR is 12, all the infant mortality was not recorded. So we decided to go for an infant death audit process by infant death registry. Second was, with the data of 2013, we could see that congenital anomalies were creeping up. The proportion contributing to infant mortality at that point was 28%. So that is one aspect that we thought, yeah, then we looked in, went deep into that and found that out of that 52% were due to congenital heart diseases. So then we looked what are the congenital heart diseases contributing to it. We found that some of the good number of cases were due to congenital heart, the VSDs, the ventricular septal defect, which can be operated. But we noted that many children were dying in the ICUs, not getting surgery done. And we had enough surgical slots at that point. And we found that the surgical slot is not the problem, financing is the problem. So the government decided to go for a separate program for congenital heart disease. And at that point, we decided to go for the comprehensive newborn screening program, which is in some parts already available. You can see the milestones. We started the metabolic screening in 2012 as a pilot for around 40,000 babies. We are a state with 500,000 births at that point. Out of that, 40,000 cases were being screened by our public health labs. Then in 2014, we started the hearing screening program. And then 2016, we went for the visible birth defects, which is not there till that point. And 2018, we started the pulse oximetry. Actually, pulse oximetry screening started after the cardiac program was developed. And 2018 itself, we went for ROP screening, all those things we did. This is the protocol that we are following. In the first 24 hours, we are doing the birth defects, the visible birth defect screening. In the next 24 hours, that is 24 to 48 hours, we are looking for OAE, the hearing screening, and pulse oximetry along with physical examination, the CVS focused physical examination to identify congenital heart disease. And after 48 hours, we are taking blood sample for the metabolic screening. So the program, the flow is like the delivery, all these things were happening in delivery point. All the screenings will, even though at different timing it happens, it's in the delivery point. We have set a separate cabin for screening. So the babies will come there. It is not like the nurse going to the ward and doing it. Instead, they will have to come to us, and there the screening will happen. And once the screening is happened, on the identified cases will be referred to either the pediatrician in the unit. They will see it again, because this screening is done by nurses. So the trained nurses are doing the screening. Then they will send the identified cases to the pediatricians. Pediatrician will see. Accordingly, the cases will get referred. That's the system that we're following. When we started looking at the visible birth defects, it is really challenging for nurses to do, because there are 174 conditions identified. and putting the name recorded, 174 different names. Different nurses will write different names, and at the end it will not be possible for us to record it and maybe analyze it later. So we developed an Android app with this fashion. The baby is having the three parts of the baby: face, trunk, and limbs. So if you touch on the screen on the face, the list of anomalies in the face will appear. And if you touch on the lip, the lip anomaly will come with a photo and a brief description. And on touching it against the detail of the baby, it will be automatically captured, and a unique ID will be generated for every child. So this ID will be used for next round of screening. And you can see all this information will be coming to a single web portal that was created. So in the next 24 hours, when you do the pulse oximetry screening or OAE, again this unique number will be put so that data will come against the same child. And once the sample is taken, in the DBS card, this unique number will be written so that the lab will be entering the lab results against this number. So at the end of maybe 48 hours, all the screening will happen. By maybe 7th or 10th day, you will have information on all these 4 screening against a single child. Such a system was developed. So we went for the hub and spoke model. As I said, the sample will be collected in the delivery point by the nurses. They were trained to do it. Sample collection kits were provided. It was not, initially it was like the card was bought from one person, the lancets were coming from somebody else. So in 2016-18, we decided to go for a pack. And it contains the swab, the glouses, the card, then the lancet, everything will come in the same kit so that is available. And with the total number of babies screened, and we know how many packets are used. So the consumable replenishment will happen accordingly. So that sort of system we developed. Delivery point to labs, transportation, that is again planned accordingly. There were a lot of challenges in the beginning. A protocol developed. Some of the hospitals were keeping samples so that the administrative head needs enough samples to be sent, considering the cost. Sometimes they took 10 days. So that was really alarming. So we redefined the protocol. We said that sample will be sent at least a week. In a week time, they need to send, because we need to get the result within 10 days maximum. If it's a bigger hospital, bigger number of samples, they will be sending twice a week. So such a protocol was developed. Responsibilities were assigned for different people who will who will take the sample, who will pack it, who will be sending it. All these things were defined and a protocol released. The provisions in software were made like every point it is tracked. Once a sample is taken, that data is captured. Where it is kept and when it is being transported from the hospital to the lab, that is captured. When that is reaching the lab, that is again captured. So we know where is the lag happening in individual hospitals. That sort of a system we were able to develop. The tests were done in 4 labs, regional labs, and the state public health lab. All were in government. Both the type of testing was available, the ELISA and immunofluorescence. Right now we have the NS2400 machines are available in all the 4 labs. We have a capacity to do 2,000 plus samples in a single stretch. Even though we don't have that many, I'll be talking about that. The labs too, the results were given in the website so that readily it is available to the institution, the pediatrician, and the community nurse so that they can inform the family. So such a system that we were able to develop. We were doing 4 tests: congenital hypothyroidism, CAH, G6PD, and galactosemia. Once the screening is completed, positive cases were linked to the district early intervention center, which is one of the systems that we developed. This early intervention centers will call the family, counsel them, and the confirmation happens. They are attached to these DEICs. The treatment is given free from there, whatever it be the medicines that is provided under the RBSK program, Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, which is a federal program by Government of India. 60% of the funds are coming from Government of India and 40% with the state. So it's a centrally sponsored scheme. All these children are attached to this DEICs. The follow-up regularly, monthly or thrice, once in 3 months, that's happening from the DEICs. So these are the numbers. I'm really sorry that I can't put more numbers because the paper is in review. We're going to publish it. But you can see the numbers. Almost 100,000 plus or 120,000 tests are being done yearly. Even though we have 500,000 births, it's only 25% of the birth is happening in public sector. We are only working with public sector at this point. Only very few private hospitals are part of the program. So these are some of the papers that we referred when we started the program, and every time, personally my opinion is we should not go for any pilots for producing evidences. Already evidences are there. So it clearly tells us the intellectual deficiency can be avoided, or the QALY that is gained out of doing congenital hypothyroidism testing and PKU testing, and some of the other aspects like this, why we need to do CAH, especially in a low and middle income country. Definitely that is going to contribute or about mortality. Maybe in the high income country may not be that is going to reduce the mortality, but for low and middle income countries, this paper clearly says that is going to reduce mortality. And I heard from yesterday and today from the sad faces of pediatricians, we lost some babies. Yeah, that's definitely a worry for a pediatrician who is managing children. So that can be very well taken care if you have such programs. In 2016, we identified our strengths and weaknesses. The first and foremost was a very high level of political and administrative will to do the program. It was easy for us as public health expert and administrators. We went to them. We asked for the support. Even in 2012, my director of public health, the labs and the director of health services used to tell every time that what the question from the government secretary was, what we need to do at this point to reduce our IMR and improve the quality of life of children. And they said we need to go for newborn screening. And at that time, newborn screening was only the blood shot screening. So he agreed. And that's a way, sorry. And we had existing facilities and labs established by that time, by 2016. All the 4 labs were functioning. So there was a decision to invest in quality of life more than reducing the IMR alone. So the weaknesses we identified was the quality of samples reaching the labs. That was one of the challenges that we faced. At least 10 to 15% of the samples were rejected by the labs at that point in time. It was not adequate, or maybe the sample collection was not correct. So, or maybe the paper was wet. So many reasons. We did a lot of focus group and a lot of complaints reported by the labs. There are logistic challenges, how this is going to be transported. It's very easy to tell that hub and spoke model works, but you need to track everything. Taking the sample, how you are going to pack it, who is going to take. So you need to have a clear protocol from the beginning, that which was not there. We redesigned it. Also, it cannot be a lab program alone. It is a government program, so procurement and other things were done by a separate agency. So you need to give the communication in time. And you cannot say that we are not doing tests because the reagent or the consumables were not replenished. You can't ask the procurement agency to get the reagents tomorrow once you finish it off. So you need to have some lead time for the supply. So which was not there. Some financing challenges were there. Cost was a problem. Sometimes the government was not agreeing on the cost that we are asked, the cost they found we are having. The poor awareness among different stakeholders, including pediatricians or maybe the nurses, family members, or the political leadership that is coming, the administrative people who are changing. So some of the consideration that we had while designing the program was the need assessment, whether to attend a specific group or a region, how we need to start the program, how expanding the program from 40,000 to next level, how we need to proceed. That was one of the considerations. Somebody told it is only the government hospitals, or maybe they said the center part of Kerala can be taken care of. So how we will decide on that? That was something that we did. And while planning and budgeting, one of the other aspect was whether we will go for which model, whether our labs are going to do or we are going to outsource it. That is one of the discussion happened. Then implementing tools for monitoring and results, whether we are achieving the objective and being transparent. That is one of the things that being discussed. So we had all these the institutional structures available. We had a very good primary care system for follow-up and other things. All those things that we had. The existing program was run by the labs alone at that point. It was not being integrated to the health system. Even though the health services was sending the sample, mostly it was considered as a lab program. The results were sent back to the pediatricians, but there was nobody responsible to follow up the child and other things. So we made the system to run the program than the lab. So we had to build in a single web-based system, which helped us in tracking all these things, whether the people are doing it, how frequently they're checking it, what sort of confidence they have in doing all these things, all these being where we are able to check it. So with regard to functionality, policy monitoring, it was a state-run program. The intention was to expand it. There was no policy for many things, like which hospitals we are going, whether the medical colleges, the tertiary care hospitals are going to take care of it. Who will be taking care of the other aspect? Who will be whether the private providers will be part of the program? That sort of the policy and formal agreement we had in 2016. With regard to infrastructure, HR, equipment part, existing program with capacity as part of the pilot was for 40,000 tests. Then we decided whether it will be possible if we are going for 100,000 tests, whether these labs can do, the current HR can match it. That was being discussed. We decided to go for automation because we are going to have more machines. Before that, it was not possible. We are actually not in need of an automated system, but then we went for an automated system, dedicated staff. All these things were part of it. We developed a care continuum pathway, starting from the screening, then the confirmation of diagnosis, management of cases, then the cases will be tracked in the community, the follow-up. All these things are defined, and the challenges and the opportunities we had in within the health system. That was assessed, and the program was planned accordingly. So the program strategy was short-term and long-term plans. The case management protocol, all those things we defined and designed. Mostly the funds came from the state fund and the NHM, National Health Mission. Then the finance grant was available. We decided to go for an IT platform, as I mentioned, expand the screening program for newborn to all public sector delivery points, capacity building for existing HR on different considerations. Then the next level of genetic testing and other things were attached to the genetic unit in Trivandrum Medical College, what is the medical college in the capital district, considering management support for other conditions as well. So all these things we were able to do and negotiate with concerned stakeholders with the available data system. So all these data were available, and that data was used. So we had a data collection platform, as I mentioned, the Visible Bird Effect portal, the Android app, that was capturing all the basic information. So the nurse who is taking the blood sample need not write all these things again. She only need to write the name and the unique number, because already all these information were captured. So this data we are using for processing the information and linking the labs for the sample, because we have matched the hospitals. Hospital X will be matched to Public Health Lab B. So the sample will be directly going there. If the sample is going to some other lab that is already tagged, that cannot go there. So that sort of a system that the data capturing helped us in developing. So all this information were visualized. So dashboard was created. So different stakeholders at different level can see all this information. The district level administrator can see what is happening from my district. The hospital administrator can see what is happening from my hospital. How many samples we have taken last week, and how many been sent. How many results have received, how many positives are there, whether they have been tracked. All these things can be seen in the dashboards. So this is, I'm really sorry that I have taken screenshot. So this is the district-wise numbers on cases, and in this you can see different levels of the cases. So how many cases are screened, how many cases failed, how many being followed up, how many yet to be followed up. So all this information, on clicking all these things, you can go deep to the child. Who is this particular child? So that sort of a system helped us in developing all these things. So the data, as I told you, helped us in doing all these things, especially for decision-making, data-driven policies. So new policies and processes for transport were possible only because we saw that the samples were not going in time, reaching the labs. So then we checked. We asked the superintendent, why you are not sending the sample? He said, it's only 7 samples. So if I wait for 1 more week, there'll be 15 samples. So otherwise, I'll be spending some money on transportation. But he was not registering that we need to get the result in 10 days. That was not being registered. The cost was the concern. So these sort of ideas that we got, or maybe we looked into all these things only because the data was available and data was used. And one other aspect was the procurement, which is really challenging. Many times the labs were running out of reagents. Now the thing is that we know how many samples are run by the lab and what is the quantity available with them, even the consumables for taking sample, how many births happened in this hospital, and what quantity we were already supplied to this the institution for sample taking. And that has come to 50% of that level. Immediately the system picks and give information to the procurement agency that you need to send these many samples. So the main store, the district level store, will send that many number of kit to the hospital. So that sort of system that we were able to develop. And the quality improvement processes with regard to quality standards, the systems, all these things were established on collection, testing, management, follow-up, all these things we were able to do. One example like blood collection and transportation, blood collection kits redesigned. So earlier, as I told, it was different things procured from different people that was going to the institution. And sometimes a hospital with 200 deliveries a month, if we send 200 Lancet and 200 the filter paper, the filter paper will be there, Lancet will not be there. The Lancet was taken for something else. So all these problems that we were able to, all these are the real practical problems that we had. So the gloves will be out of stock. When we go to the center, then we'll say that the nurse will not be using a glove. So then we were able to train the nurses on sample collection. The frequent trainings happened that our partners, they helped, they were very instrumental in giving feedback to us. They're going to the lab saying that we found that these many samples are pending to be tested because they are going to have the shortage of these reagents. So all this information we were getting them also. The stakeholder awareness was another problem. Redefine the protocol for testing information, management and follow-up. We found that confirmation was not happening for some of the tests for years. Then a protocol was designed, we engaged the lab because the lab didn't have that capacity. Then we started sending the sample to a different lab. So the pre-screening and post-screening counseling was not there. So that is ethically very important. We need to counsel the family on both the aspects. Even if it is negative, we need to talk to them because we had some incidences. Early it was not picked up, and sometimes it is the false positives that also created some problems. So sort of people need to be trained. The nurses who are doing the pre and post-test counseling had to be trained accordingly. and all these the protocols redesigned and redefined, and accordingly we had to train people. And on new follow-up system and involvement of family with technology support. So that is something like once the lab enters the report, the family get a text message saying that if it's a positive case, you need to come back to the hospital. So that's sort of a technology support that we are able to adopt with this system. Sorry. So in conclusion, we had a lot of learnings, starting from the economic aspect of the program. We found that we realized that it is really matters with the volume and long-term contracts. So that is something that we had new learning. Because if you change the government, that is another problem. Every year there is a contract. There is every year there is a tender. So one party will establish all the setup, and if you are not sure that you are not going to get it next year, the cost automatically they will increase. So we decided to go for a long-term contract, 2 to 5 years. That is really helpful for us. The cost efficiency can be improved by multitasking of existing HR. I heard somebody talking about if 20 samples will be taken, one nurse, 40, then another nurse. For a country like ours, it will be very difficult. So what we had done is we multitask the nurse who was there. So the nurse who was there doing all screenings together, so she will be responsible for maybe 40 screenings. Altogether, she will be doing 40 screenings. So out of the 10 will be visible birth defect, 10 will be pulse oximetry, and another 10 will be metabolic screening. So that sort of a multitasking. The same nurse is trained for doing all these things, and she will be doing that only. And there will be a work schedule given to her. Then well-designed process and monitoring tools is important for effectively utilizing available resources. Whether it is human resource, consumables, whatever it be, you need to have a tracking and monitoring system. Otherwise, this all can get utilized by or consumed by somebody else. The process should align with the functioning of the existing health system. That is also very important. The existing health system should take care of it. There are many programs we have. If you have an antenatal care, it's mandatory for us also to have minimum four antenatal care. So now our ANMs, the auxiliary nurses, are talking to the family about the newborn screening. So the system also knows. And for doing the PNC, the postnatal visit, the ANM again will check whether the screening has happened. It should be part of, we need to integrate it with the existing system. Since we have that sort of system, you can also use that. Establishing linkages with different levels of health system and providing information on that definitely will improve the outcome. So lastly, and the most importantly, that what we have used is adopting technology. So different aspects, as beginning I told you the Android app, that helped the nurses a lot. Instead of learning by 174 names by heart or maybe writing the spelling differently. So all those things we were able to tackle with that sort of an Android app, which is the technology part. The timing, whether the lab was able to give the results back in 14 days. That was the time limit that we have given, within 14 days. So how many samples were not provided with the results in 14 days? Or all these things we were able to do with the help of technology only. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nair, for sharing the technological approaches for newborn screening along with the real-world problem and the journey of India with us. So it is now my privilege to introduce our next speaker, who brings a truly global perspective to the dialogue, Professor Dr. Diane Webster. Professor Webster earned her PhD from the University of London in 1981, focusing on the hereditary orotic aciduria, a rare inborn error of metabolism. She has been actively engaged in newborn screening since 1986 and has led the New Zealand Newborn Metabolic Screening Program since 1991. She is an honorary professor at the Leggins Institute, University of Auckland School of Medicine. Professor Webster has held important roles in several professional organizations, and most notably to the International Society for Neonatal Screening, where she currently serves as Vice President and Asia Pacific representative, as well as the Human Genetics Society of Australasia and the Clinical and Laboratory Standard Institute. Her key interests in newborn blood spot screening include program evaluation, defining and reviewing the condition for inclusion, case counting, and guideline development. We are honored to have her expertise with us today. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Professor Webster. Thank you.
Forward. Where am I? Thank you very much for that nice introduction, and a big thank you to Dr. Santosh and Dr. Vivek for organising such an important meeting. I think when you start screening, it's really important to know where you're going and to have some idea of, as you plan your start, to think about what might happen next and what might happen later. And I'm privileged to be able to talk to you about more than 50 years of newborn screening for congenital hypothyroidism in New Zealand. We're a little country down the bottom of the Pacific. I've been sitting here with my jaw dropping open, listening to people talking about having 500,000 births. We have about 50 to 60,000 births a year. But we were one of the first countries in the world to have 100% coverage of newborn screening. It's either us or the Republic of Ireland. That just tells you that if you're a little island, some things are easier. I'll just talk to you a little bit about the screening pathway and our monitoring, and then specifically about screening for congenital hypothyroidism. But first I'd like to say that when I'm talking about newborn screening, I'm really talking about the classical definition of public health screening, and that is a test offered to people who are not perceived to be at increased prior risk of screening. And what I'm not talking about, and what I hope we'll be very careful when we're talking about evaluating screening in the future, is that it is not a panel of diagnostic tests that are offered to children who are at risk. So if you've got a sick baby, the appropriate thing to give it is not a screen. It's a proper test that will work out whether it's got a problem or not. The thing about screens in the public health context is that they're not definitive. They give you risk, they give you probability of having a disorder that has to be confirmed afterwards. And that's not what you want for a sick baby. I talked a little yesterday about the screening pathway, and the screening pathway is one way to conceptualize what happens in screening, and it's talks about the steps of the offer of screening made to a family, to the taking of a blood sample, testing it, reporting a result, be it increased risk or low risk, diagnostic testing where that's appropriate, and referring of the baby for treatment. It's a way to think about how you evaluate your program and how you find out what the strengths and weaknesses are. So briefly again, it's screening offered, accepted or declined by the family, and I would endorse the thoughts that have been voiced so far that this is best offered in pregnancy. And consent for screening can be divided up into consent for the screening and then a later consent to put a lancet against the baby's foot. Sample gets taken, sent to the lab, result goes to the family, and results also get reported appropriately to paediatric services for care and confirmatory testing. Diagnostic testing can take place with the same kind of technologies, and that's often the case in a biochemical genetics kind of lab, or it can be different tests entirely, and they can be done in the same place or different. And then appropriately babies are treated, and we like to know about the outcome of our screening. We're not screening to find babies who have got a high TSH. We're screening to make our babies who have got congenital hypothyroidism grow up tall and smart. And we want to know whether that's being achieved. I'd endorse what our last speaker has said about the importance of data and the importance of being able to use your data to improve the program. And we know that our coverage is greater than 98%. We don't know if the missing ones was declined screening or whether they didn't get an offer. We know that screening coverage differs by ethnicity, and it differs by the part of the country that you live in. Things haven't changed terribly much. All this kind of data is publicly available on the newborn screening websites. I could talk for a long time about standards and about setting standards, and we have standards around things like when samples are collected and how long they get to take to the laboratory. So we have a standard that says we want 90% of our first samples to be taken between 24 and 72 hours after birth, and we're not meeting that. We find about 83%, varying again by where you live and by ethnicity. We have a standard about satisfactory samples, and we're not doing too badly with that at 99%. And we have a terrible, terrible performance on a standard that says we would like our samples to reach the lab in 4 days or fewer from the time of collection. We've got a standard around follow-up, and I'm happy to report that almost 100% of our second sample requests are received, or we get told the family doesn't want to go any further, or the baby's had some other testing. So for example, a baby that has a marginally elevated TSH, we might ask for a second blood card, but they have a thyroid function test in the community. When we're thinking about our laboratory performance, we divide that up into conditions which we consider to be clinical critical, and we say we want those results out of the lab with the first test and a confirmatory test and any necessary second-tier testing to be done within 2 days. So clinical critical is disorders which may cause decompensation or salt loss. So I'm talking CAH, I'm talking maple syrup urine disease, I'm talking galactosemia, 2 days. But we've got a 7-day turnaround for non-clinical critical. We like to have our babies received, we used to say treatment commenced, but now we say received into clinical care by the time baby is 10 days old, if it's clinical critical, and we're achieving that 95%, and 28 days for not clinical critical. And that would be your biotinidase deficiency, cystic fibrosis, that kind of disorder. Because we're dealing with rare diseases and we're dealing with small numbers of rare diseases, we talk about our positive predictive value in 5-year tranches, and our predictive value for SCID is not terribly good, about 3%, about 50% for fatty acid oxidation disorders, and 38%. The positive predictive value of screening is really important to keep a good track on, because it's your false positive tests that cause a lot of grief among your consultant paediatricians, among your diagnostic services, and most importantly, among your families. And we have about 1 in 3,000 babies have hypothyroidism. IT is important. I'm again echoing Dr. Nair and his presentation. We are part of a regular clinical chemistry lab, but most clinical chemistry IT systems don't deal with the complexities of newborn screening. So we've got an in-house developed app that sits behind our main lab LIMS. The lab LIMS receives the samples. Our other system does the tracking, does the approval, monitors tests and send-outs and recalls and what comes back. But the overall screen result gets reported out from the LIMS. Our reporting varies according to the kind of result that it is. And what I'm talking here about is sort of straight communication of results that need extra action. Results which are normal, everybody will get an electronic report, and we ask that they get passed on to families. Where a disorder is thought to be probable, very highly above a cutoff, the result is phoned to a consultant paediatrician from the lab, and we have consultant paediatricians paid by the laboratory to do this kind of work for us. That person will phone up the baby's caregiver, who is mostly a midwife, and talk to them about the baby and how the baby is, and talk to them about next steps and talk to them about the disorder. They will also text message a link to information sheets about the disorder to the family. For a result which might be disease or it might not, a marginal positive type result, they'd be phoned out usually by the laboratory to ask for a second sample. Periodically we match babies who we've got samples from to follow up unscreened babies to see whether they're missed or declined. We find that quite easy to do because babies get a national health number when they're born. When we want a second sample, as I said, we would phone up the midwife and talk to them about what and why. And then if we haven't got it back, we send text messages automatically to them, follow up with phone calls where we need to. All babies who have got disorder suggestive results, we get good follow-up from. Babies who have unsuitable samples, we test them. And if there's anything suggestive, they'll get followed up appropriately. And we find out our cases by what is now mostly electronic forms sent to the consultant paediatricians, who will then give us feedback as to whether these babies were true or false positives. So now to move on specifically to congenital hypothyroidism. What we need to know about our screening is, are we finding all the affected babies? Are they growing up tall and smart? What are we missing? And is screening equitable? And there's other things that you come across in screening that are interesting to know, but not necessarily critical to the performance of the program. For example, the increased incidence of CH that's been reported worldwide. The studies I'm going to talk to you about have been done by a big team of statistics, of pediatric endocrine, us in the lab, and a series of endocrine fellows. These are mostly based at the Liggins Institute of the University of Auckland. I don't have to tell you this. Babies are hypothyroid because they don't have a thyroid gland, or because it doesn't work properly. It's an inborn error of metabolism, if you like. We screen because there's no clinical easy way to pick the babies up by looking at them. And screening, there's a simple, cheap, easy blood test and a simple, cheap treatment for the condition. Professor Jean Dussault, who's a Canadian who developed radioimmunoassays for thyroxine and for TSH, and we started screening in 1978 with thyroxine, TSH from 1981, and changed to Delphia immunoassays in 1993. And there's a little extra note there that's showing you one of the information sheets. that goes to families after a positive screen. To the end of 1923, we've screened nearly 2 million babies. Looking at a 5-year data tranche, screened about 290,000, 201 true positive, 400 odd false positive, 3 false negatives, which gives us a sensitivity of 98.5%, specificity of 99.9%, and a positive predictive value of 32%. When you think about that kind of screening metric, it knocks into a cocked hat any of your cancer screening or any of most other screening that is done on a population basis. We've learned some lessons. We missed a baby who happened to be an identical twin. Baby had a normal TSH on screening, but was noticed at 6 months to have developmental delay. This baby was a twin, and the twin was normal. What happens in that case is that the baby who is hypothyroid steals thyroxine from the unaffected baby, and so at birth it doesn't have a raised TSH because it's got plenty of thyroxine that it's stolen off its twin. That's a well-known phenomenon known as twin-twin transfusion. Most screening programs will have something on their website which says, watch out for this in twins, but I'm unaware of any that actively follow up. We want to know if our screening is equitable, and what we have found out is that we found higher levels in of TSH in some ethnicities. In boys, babies who are younger, i.e. less mature, born earlier, and interestingly, babies who have come from a lower socioeconomic status. So you can see that in terms of screening metrics like PPV, there are certainly inequities due to ethnicity. However, we've not figured out how to deal with that and how to make things more equitable. We want to know if our children with hypothyroidism are indeed growing tall and smart. And we know that their outcome is affected by how severe their disease is, what causes the disease, when we start treatment, and how effective the treatment is. And we find that we are treating our babies by at least an average of 10 days old. We give them a much bigger dose if they're athyroid, monitor frequently, and we found that we can normalise their thyroxines within 7 days of starting treatment. So having got that underway, we then looked at some children with hypothyroidism and found matched siblings or best friends for assessment, did a variety of physical and intellectual testing, and we found that the children with hypothyroidism were as good as their siblings in terms of their development, which was quite reassuring. The incidence of hypothyroidism has increased worldwide. This has been reported by many, many programs. It's been speculated that this has been due to more disease for some reason, due to different screening methodologies, different cutoffs, or it's been maybe a different disorder definition, and so particularly from north of in the Pacific, they've been speculating that it might be environmental factors. We've been tracking our cases of hypothyroidism, and indeed we found that our incidence had increased despite having not changed our technology and not having changed our cutoff. What we did find is that the increased rate of hypothyroidism was due to an increase in dyshormonogenesis, due to an increase in immigration from Asia and from the Pacific. Both groups are known to have a high incidence of dyshormonogenesis relative to thyroid agenesis. We'd like to know if we're missing cases of hypothyroidism. It's not a single disorder. worldwide programs keep lowering their cutoff and lowering their cutoff, and the lower they put their cutoff, the more cases they find and treat. However, we don't know whether those extra cases really need treatment. We know that our cutoff is somewhat higher than that in many programs worldwide at 15 million international units of blood. So what we wanted to know was what was happening to children who had TSH levels on newborn screening that were just a bit below our cutoff. And our interest in that study was piqued by a result that came out of New South Wales, which suggested that educational outcome of children was directly related to what their newborn TSH level was. So in a series of school tests, they found that the higher the TSH, and these are not children who were known to be hypothyroid, the higher their TSH level was, the worse they did. So we recruited children who had a TSH level just below our cutoff, and again used sibling controls or best friend controls, and did a very similar series of tests to what we'd done earlier, but we also asked them all to have a repeat thyroid function so we could see if any of them had developed hypothyroidism. And we've found that of the patients who agreed to have a repeat blood tests, none were hypothyroid, but some of them had a slightly raised TSH, so none were hypothyroid. Furthermore, when we looked at our sibling pairs, there was no difference between the children who had hypothyroid and not. However, we did find that an association between the child IQ and their newborn TSH. So very similar to the finding from New South Wales. But when we looked seriously into our patients and into our results, we have decided that that mild TSH is not the cause of the cognitive impairment, but the mild raise in TSH is associated with something different, which is responsible for the intellectual slight tweaking. We decided from the results of our study that it's the practice of knee-jerk lowering TSH cutoffs on the basis of a missed case is possibly not very useful or not very beneficial. I could have put a slide in that talked about our TSH cutoff. We don't have, in fact, a single cutoff. We use age-related cutoffs, and as I'm going to tell you in a minute, something different for little babies. We like to know how we're doing compared to our colleagues, and there are 5 screening programs in Australia which screen the different states and territories, and we've been working together on audit and collaborative programs. If all the programs were using Revity GSP for their TSH measurements, so we can directly compare the values of cutoffs, and we find that everybody has got similar but different cutoffs, different thresholds for referral directly to paediatric endocrinology, quite different recall rates, and astonishingly different positive predictive values that we've not been able to get to the reason for. An elephant in the room is genomic newborn screening, which may complement biochemical for hypothyroidism in the future. This at the top says, what is important? It is people, it is people, it is people. And the people who are important to our program are our families who consent to screening and who treat their children as appropriate, people who do policy and planning and oversight, and they're in a prevention directorate as part of Health New Zealand. Our partner organisations like the College of Midwives who help us with communications, the people who collect the samples and get informed consent, which is our midwives and phlebotomists and others, our laboratory screening and diagnostic teams, so that's in immunology, in genetics, in biochemical genetics, and other areas. Our tertiary paediatricians, too many to name, who do the diagnostic work and the follow-up and treat our babies. And our international colleagues, where we learn a lot of stuff from. So, summary is, this is something to look forward to. It's something for everybody. And I'm looking forward to hearing further progress from the very exciting meetings we've heard today. And I would also follow up on Dr. Aisha and Dr. Kamansita's presentations and say that a really, really important person for your screening success is a champion. Thank you. You want to do wrap up, don't you?
Thank you.
You want to do wrap up?
Yes. You want to do it?
Should we do it together?
Yeah, you can do that. No problem.
No, you do it.
You can have a closing remarks, no problem.
My closing remarks are what I said at the beginning. Thanks to Drs. Vivek and Santosh for organising. Thank you all for your attendance. Know that we are a resource that you can come to if you've got questions. Very happy to share experiences and to give details, and I wish you all every success. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dan. Well, friends, look at the clock. We started early this morning, and it's already evening. So thank you for your participation. So today we had heard the honest dialogue, the challenges that our frontline pediatricians have faced, the true data from our researchers, and we were truly gifted to be heard by the international speakers, the global perspectives from similar resource setting and the world-class programs. So thank you for being part of this important 2 days CME on newborn screening. So we'll see again, we'll discuss again, not just to discuss, but to celebrate the success, the initiation of newborn screening in Nepal very soon. Thank you, our volunteers, our media partners, our technicians, and most importantly, our speakers, sponsors. Thank you so much, Revity Diagnostics and Lab Systems, for sponsoring this event. And before wrap up, I have few notes to make. For the NMC registered doctor, your CPD will be automatically upgraded to your login system at the Nepal Medical Council registered system. And for other participants, your certificate will be provided online. And as a sign of, as a gesture of appreciation and acknowledgement to our speakers, sponsors, and volunteers, may I call upon Ms. Nisha. Thank you for a wonderful MC. And then after token of love distribution, we'll have a group photo, and then we'll bid a goodbye. Have a nice evening. Thank you once again, everyone.
I guess that was a wonderful day spent on the newborn screening program that could be implemented in Nepal, and a few of the programs that have already run could go with a good flow, and we have had the global perspective from international speakers. So thank you all of you for being the part of this day. And as we are on the end of the program, I'd like to welcome Dr. Vivek Panta on stage to provide a token of love as a part of appreciation to all our speakers. Can we have a big round of applause? So I'll be calling all the speakers. I request you all to kindly be on the stage. Dr. Santosh Pradhan from BTC. Thank you so much. Dr. Bijaya Mishra from Rare Disease Society. Dr. Sailendra Bir Karmacharya from PMWH. We still have energy for a big round of applause for each speakers, I guess. Dr. Jeevan Adhikari from NPL. Dr. Prajwal from PMWH. Ms. Marika Case from IFCC. Dr. Aisha Habib Khan from IFCC ISNS. Dr. Srihari Nair from Kerala Health Services. Dr. Diane Webster from IFCC. Thank you, Dr. Vivek. Now I'd like to welcome Dr. Santosh Pradhan to provide token of love and appreciation to our sponsor and volunteers. So can I have the representative from Riviti? They have been the wonderful sponsors, and we hope for the future collaboration too. Representative from Lab System. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. And finally, the representative from Advanced Biotech on behalf of Lab System. Thank you, everyone. So finally, special thanks to all the speakers and sponsors for managing a day for us, especially enlightening us about the newborn screening. And he's the representative of Advanced Biotech on behalf of Lab System. Thank you so much, sir. Now we'll have appreciation towards our volunteers because of whom that we have successfully ended the program with a greater note. So I'd like to request Ms. Banchita Neupane from KUSMS. Ms. Swastika Bhattrai. Mr. Vijay Kumar Gupta.
And Ms. Nisha Thapa.
Lastly, I'd like to thank each and everyone for your equal effort in making this conference a success. So we'll have a group photo. Please join us. Thank you. Thank you, Devendra sir, for correcting us as we misspelled it. The sponsorship was from the Advanced Biotech on behalf of Riviti. Thank you so much.